I just finished writing a scientific paper, and this paper will change the world. It is called Deconstructing Reinforcement Learning Using Coving. I will read the introduction for you, so it all makes perfect sense. Randomized algorithms and model checking, while unfortunate in theory, have not until recently been considered unproven. The impact on algorithms of this outcome has been adamantly opposed. The notion that end users interact with the development of courseware is regularly well received. Thusly, constant time epistemologies and interpossible epistemologies are based entirely on the assumption that the RPC symmetric encryption are not in conflict with the World Wide Web. Coving, or new algorithms for self-learning algorithms, is the solution to all of these obstacles. It all makes sense? No? Do you notice anything? Well, the whole paper is completely gibberish generated by an artificial intelligence, and it was programmed as a joke. Actually, you can still find these papers published in the scientific literature. But how is this possible? Well, the paper uses so much jargon and overly complicated words that the reader concludes that 1. I do not understand something that I should understand, so to save face, I pretend to understand it. 2. The author is really smart because of the big words, so he's probably right. 3. The paper sounds scientific, so it probably is. And since they can't criticize it because they do not understand it, it sometimes passes peer review. What if I told you that there are entire scientific fields where this psychological effect keeps them alive? Enter postmodernism. To discuss postmodernism, we have to distinguish between science and philosophy. Science, like physics, chemistry and biology, is when you prove if stuff is real or not. Philosophy is when you think about what has not yet been proven by science. Postmodernism is when you do not like what the science has proven because it goes against your political ideology and hurt your feelings, but you cannot disprove it with science. So you instead do this by finding problems in the science, claiming it's way more complicated than it is, without presenting any new data or making any falsifiable statements. Due to these problems that you made up, you claim that the theory you criticize cannot be true, but you never present a better explanation. This starts to resonate with other people with the same emotional reaction as you, and this gives you funding and legitimacy. You might think that this cannot in any way, shape or form be taken seriously. But I will tell you, it is. Postmodernism has almost entirely taken over the field of psychology, but to highlight my point, it has even attempted to creep into physics. Just listen to this abstract. The dynamic nature of physics cannot be captured through an exclusive focus on the static mathematical formulations of physical theories. Instead, we can more fruitfully think of physics as a set of distinctively social, cognitive and theoretical/methodological practices. An emphasis on practice has been the most notable aspect of recent naturalistic turn in general philosophy of science, in no small part due to the argument of many feminist philosophers of science. A major project of feminist philosophy of physics has been to shine a critical light on the social and cognitive practices in physics and how those ultimately influence other aspects of the science. Here we argue that traditional philosophy of physics has focused exclusively on the theoretical/methodological practices of physics, and that feminist philosophy of physics seeks to broaden the focus to include the social and cognitive practices as well. What the fuck am I even reading? In an abstract, you're supposed to summarize the most important conclusions of the chapter, so ideally you do not have to read it. But here you just scratch your head. I unfortunately read the whole thing linked in the description, and you can see that she doesn't arrive at any conclusion, and thus the abstract is just gobbledygook to fill out the page. To summarize the chapter, she just talks about that there are too few women in physics, and this is due to sexism. She complains about that quantum mechanics is strange, well no shit, and that she likes a science philosopher named Karen that is a feminist, who also has the same nonsense way of writing as she does. You see, by referring to vague terms like the trichotomy of social, cognitive and theoretical/methodological throughout the chapter, you can never really know what she's actually talking about. and thus her work cannot be criticized, since what she writes has no meaning. The reason postmodernists get away with this is because real scientific papers are also difficult to comprehend, because what they talk about is actually complex. So for a layman, they might look the same. But the clear distinction is that a real scientist tries to dumb down their papers as much as possible to maximize the comprehension for the reader, while a postmodernist try to overcomplicate their text in order to make their work without substance sound like it's scientific.
The destruction of this scale is dedicated to all of the women whose lives have been ruined and ruled by it. This is for us, ladies. Safety first. Oops. I'm tired of you stealing my life. I'm tired of you making me feel if I'm good or bad. I'm tired of you deciding how my day is. No more of you deciding my life. No more of you stealing life from me. This is it. I take back my life. I'm in control. I decide if I'm good or bad. Not you. I deserve a great life. This is about me. This isn't about you. Oh my God. That's like better than sex.
So the take-home message is to be very cautious around people that do not try to simplify what they are saying, because usually they are just trying to sound smarter than what they actually are. And it's also time for people to start calling out postmodernism for the bullshit that it actually is. Else, emotional people with a political agenda will continue to brainwash people that this is a valid type of science. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and check out my other videos.